moon are moving, and they stopped, not the Earth. I'm going to play a little video here for you. It's a trailer for a movie, a documentary called The Principle. How many of you have heard of The Principle? A few people. Have you seen it or just heard of it? Pretty wild stuff. Check out this trailer.
Science has found evidence that Earth is the center of the universe. Science has found evidence that God exists. So why do they tell us we are insignificant?
There's nothing special about humans. There's nothing special about the Earth. In fact, our universe may be one among many universes.
And there's no evidence of planning or purpose in the universe.
The Big Bang assumes that the only thing that exists is the physical world, and there's nothing beyond that.
The truth is, we are significant.
We are in a special place. I do believe that the universe was created by God.
Always question the scientists and their foundations.
They built their careers on this, and it would be admitting a major mistake.
So they set up a satellite and they find out these temperature disturbances throughout the universe were all pointing to the Earth.
Whoa, what is going on here?
This cosmic microwave background is like we are seeing the fingerprint of God, the hallmarks of the Creator.
Man is in a special location for presumably a special purpose.
When I see how barren the other planets are and how bountiful the Earth is, something's different, and we're in just the right spot for it.
We are in a special place. I do believe that.
Science has said stay over in this category here and you cannot go into the God category because that's going to destroy our science.
Now that is controversial because anyone in the standard cosmology community would not even entertain such a notion.
It's just too perfect to be a happenstance or a coincidence.
This is the movie modern science doesn't want you to see.
If you were paranoid, you'd say there's a conspiracy.
As a matter of fact, you can go on some websites of NASA and see that they've started to take down stuff that might hint to a geocentric universe. I mean, how do you avoid this evidence?
They have nowhere to go. It's the moment of truth for science.
So, I'm keeping all options on the table.
You are significant. Get the proof. Spread the truth. Click to download the movie now.
I highly recommend you check out that film. Now, they still believe the Earth is a ball, okay? But if geocentricity is true, we got to throw out everything we think we believe anyway. Everything that we're taught about our cosmos and our Earth and everything else is all based on the Copernican principle of a spinning heliocentric ball. But here you have secular scientists who have no dog in this hunt that I'm talking about right here, looking at scientific evidence saying, wow, this place is not moving. Numerous scientific tests have proven this place is not moving. Okay, so if we're not rotating, that's a big problem for what you think you believe. And if we're in the center, that's another big problem for what you think you believe. So at least, if you look into this, you're going to have to be forced to say, I got to start over again. And I recommend you check it out. I think it's theprinciplemovie.com. They're mad at us in the sort of the flat earth community over here for using their stuff because they're not flat earthers. And I'm like, dude, you should be paying us royalties. We have sent so many people your way to watch your movie. You should be paying us. Because what we're trying to say is, whether you believe what I'm saying or not, is get out there and start testing it for yourself. Understand why you believe what you believe, because we've already established everything we believe is absurd anyway. Doesn't matter which worldview you come from, it's absurd. But do you know why you believe what you believe? Or do you believe it just because somebody told you something for your whole life and now you believe it? You know, for me, there's a lot of things that, you walk in first day of school, kindergarten, and there's the globe right there. I was born June 26, 1969. On July 20th, 1969, men were supposedly walking on the moon. And I was sitting on my mother's lap watching it. And as a result, I wanted to be an astronaut. That was my whole dream goal in life. I've got all the original newspaper articles, Time magazine, everything about Neil Armstrong, all those guys. Was obsessed with that stuff. Telescope, I had a 150 power telescope first, then I got a 300 power telescope that had all kinds of added stuff. I could look at the sun and all kinds of stuff with it. Was glued to the telescope for most of my early years. Joined the military because I wanted to get into NASA. I was a helicopter pilot. in the Army. I learned how to fly helicopters because I heard somewhere that the lunar landers, they had to learn how to fly helicopters to be able to pilot the lunar lander. And so my plan was, okay, I'm going to learn how to fly helicopters, follow my dad's footsteps. He was also a helicopter pilot. Following his footsteps, he's one of my earthly heroes, if not my primary earthly hero. Love my dad. So I'm going to fly helicopters. And then I figured I'd transition once I got that done to flying jets and then put in my application and try to get into NASA and get into the space program. It's all I've ever wanted to do. Space, space, space. All that was what I was all about. So if you're having problems with this research and this stuff, just imagine what's going on in my head as I start looking at this. And I watched this movie, and this movie starts breaking down some hardcore barriers and things that we think we understand. If what they're saying and what they're discovering is true, you got to start over. And when you look at some of these scientists, they're kind of realizing the same thing. Michio Kaku, this is a quote from him in that movie. He says, usually in science, if we're off by a factor of 2 or a factor of 10, we call that horrible. We say something's wrong with the theory. We're off by a factor of 10. However, in cosmology, we're off by a factor of 10 to the 120th. That is 1 with 120 zeros after it. That's how much they're admitting they're wrong. This is the largest mismatch between theory and experiment in the history of science. Wow. That's one heck of an admission right there. In other words, you're telling us you're clueless. So why should we listen to these people? That most of the stuff that they're coming up with was derived from theoretical physicists and stuff writing on chalkboards. In fact, Nikola Tesla had something to say about those guys. He said, today's scientists have substituted mathematics for experiments, and they wander off through equation after equation and eventually build a structure which has no relation to reality. You can make math say just about anything you want it to say. And most of us don't understand it enough, so we look at this big chalkboard full of squiggly lines, and we're like, okay, well, he's smart, so I guess I'll believe him. And yet you have these same smart guys going, we're off by 1 to 120 zeros on their chalkboard stuff. William Shatner, Captain Where No Man Has Gone Before, Kirk himself, was he's putting together a project up in Canada, some kind of television show or something. And he was sitting down and talking with people like Michio Kaku and Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was trying to get an appointment with Stephen Hawking. And these prominent guys in science today to talk to them about time and space and things like that. And he's at one of these Star Trek conventions talking about his experience talking to these guys. And basically, I could summarize what he said. He's like, I'm listening to these guys and I'm asking them questions. And he's like, well, so what does your day look like? What do you do? What do you actually do? And he's like, well, it's all in my head. They don't actually physically do stuff. They think about stuff and write it on chalkboards. And William Shatner says in this convention, he goes, science and science fiction is the same thing. It's all in their head.
Through your career and your writing and your acting, you've inspired so many people to enter the sciences. How do you balance science with science fiction?
They're both the same. I've been discussing time and warping time and time-space with some famous scientists. I'm doing something up in Canada which may sell, they may sell that show called The Truth Is in Our Stars. And I've talked to Michio Kaku and David Suzuki, and I'm going in a couple of weeks to talk to Dr. Stephen Hawking. And I tried to get through his book, A Brief History of Time. It's not brief. And it doesn't have much to do with history. And everybody I've met who is acquainted with the subject, I'm continually asking, look, I hear space-time all the time. No, space-time, it's space-time. That without space, without time, it's time and the space is the time. Hard to comprehend what it is. Well, I don't comprehend what it is, so I ask these very important people who are working in the field, what is space-time? And they say, well, the gravitational force takes the photon of light and it bends the photon of light. So without space, without time, you cut the time. I said, well, wait a minute. If in 13, and I said this to Dr. Cochran, in 13.5 years, he says, no, 13.8 billion years. He corrected me by 0.3 billion years. If that photon, I said to him, if that photon of light at that farthest galaxy takes 13.8 billion years to reach my eye, isn't that time? And he said, yes, but the space-time and the time and the space and the space and the time. And I couldn't understand, my opening sentence to everybody, including it will be to Dr. Hawking, what is space-time? And I can't, and I know 17 people just raised their hands. I'll tell you about space-time. But it's a concept that I just can't get through my head.
Well, you can understand time, the passage of time.
Are you going to explain to me what space-time is?
Yes. And you can understand the idea that there's space, there's a distance between you and these 6,000 people.
Wow. You said that with a measure of pride, too.
Yeah.
Creation, 6,000 people are in the ark.
But it takes a certain amount of time for you to pass from here all the way over to the other side of the auditorium.
Right, that's space.
That is time going, time going through space.
You see, that's not what they mean at all. That shows me that you have no idea. I mean, so the guy said, one of the gentlemen said, well, there are 3 dimensions, space, length, width, right? And then you have the concept of time. So something happens within that space, you got time. That's the 4th dimension. Yeah. And I said, well, I get that. Something happens within a cube, and you have time, and then you have length and breadth and width. And I get what's the 5th dimension, I said.
That's a fantastic band.
A fantastic band. That was my first thing. So I said, just give me another, because he said there's 11, then he said there's 17, and then I heard lately there's 26 other spaces.
Dimensions,
multiverses. No, wait a minute. So I said, well, just give me one other dimension. I don't care about 16 or 17 or 26. What is the 5th dimension? What is it? Give me another dimension. And the answer is, we can't conceive of that.
You know, right. So that doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Well, it doesn't mean it does exist. You know, so I mean, so I said to Dr. Kaku, he said, it's in the, because he's working on string theory. You know about string theory.
Yeah, and I find that incredibly confusing too.
But we're not talking about the stuff you wrap a package about, Adam. It's vibration of some kind in a string. Okay? So I said, he said, it's like music. I said, well, I understand an orchestra with vibrating instruments. I got that. What do you play? What's your instrument? What do you do? When you get up in the morning, doctor, what do you do? And he says, it's all in my head. I think. I said, well, how do you prove what you're thinking exists? Because it's all theory. He said, well, I've got this very elegant
numbers, equation,
yeah. Very E, B divided to 7 to 4. It's all in his head. How do you prove a black hole? How do you know those gravitational waves proved the collision of 2 black holes?
Somehow, eventually, they are able to observe phenomena.
No, they can't observe. It's too far away. It's too theoretical. How do we know what they're saying is true? You know what it really is? It's all science fiction.
So does that make you a skeptic?
No, well, science fiction says, this is a story that I'm making up. And there's this thing called wormholes. And that's a science fiction concept. Although the scientist says say there are wormholes. How do you know? The mystery of science fiction is what I'm talking about. Science and science fiction are essentially the same.
Wow. That's pretty crazy. Other difficult scriptures to reconcile. Oh, by the way, I didn't put it in here, I don't think, but we had Joshua commanding the sun to stand still. It gets worse when Hezekiah makes the sun go backwards 10 degrees. All right? Wait a minute. That means the earth stopped rotating, rotated backwards, and then spun back up to 1,000 miles an hour again. By the way, where do we see in the Genesis account anything about the earth spinning? And what was the earth doing while it was waiting for 3 days for the sun to show up? Heliocentric. Centered on Helios. Pagan sun god. The sun. Heliocentricity puts all the focus on the sun. Geocentricity, the biblical model, the focus is here. And the scientists are realizing, hey, we must be important because everything shows that we're in the center. Everything's moving away at the same rate in all directions from us. We are it. We're the center. Whoa, what does that mean? You saw them. You know, Daniel talks about a vision of a tree that grows so big that the whole world could see that. How does that work on a ball? Okay, it was just a dream. Okay, fine. Yeshua was taken to a high mountain and shown all the kingdoms of the world. How does that happen on a ball? I don't know. When he comes back, it says every eye is going to see him. How's that work? Oh, he's going to make a round trip. He's going to take some laps around the earth. Well, I don't remember reading that. As I read it, it looks like he's got a direct flight from the clouds to the Mount of Olives. But if he shows up on that side, how are those going to see him? Well, you know, we got iPhones and the internet. Okay, read the book of Revelation and tell me how you think iPhones and the internet is still going to be working. I used to use that myself. I say, well, you got cable TV and satellites and all that stuff. Yeah, and when something crazy happens, everybody's got their iPhone out, right? Read the book of Revelation and tell me how you think that's going to work. I used to say that myself. Okay, this is where it really started getting crazy for me. Isaiah, Peter, John, and Yeshua himself, the Son of God, Jesus Christ. All four of these guys. These are four pretty big heavy hitters in Scripture, wouldn't you say? Isaiah, Yeshua, Peter, John. All four of these guys said all the stars are going to fall to earth. All the stars are going to fall to earth. I mean, we got many scriptures talking about it. So, guys, are you still taking the Bible literally? We agreed at the beginning we should. If you still think we should take the Bible literally, you got Yeshua, the Son of God, Jesus Christ himself, Isaiah, Peter, and John telling you all the stars are going to fall to earth. Put that in perspective. That's just one galaxy. You've got pictures like this. All the stars are going to fall to earth. If that's true, we got bigger problems than terrorism and the Antichrist. If Andromeda's heading our way, it's going to be a bad day. So somebody's wrong here. Isaiah, Yeshua, Peter, John, all said all the stars are going to fall to earth. Carl Sagan, Neil deGrasse Tyson, all these other guys, Michio Kaku, say these are spinning galaxies with billions and billions of stars, all with planets going around them, are coming to earth. Someone's lying. I don't know about you, but I'm not prepared to say that it's Isaiah, Yeshua, Peter, or John.